Well, I sure am excited to share this video with you today. If this is your first time joining us, we release a video every Friday where we generally focus on cleaning a particular record. We'll pull something out of the archives, talk about the music, the pressing, and the best approach to cleaning it. We also release small, shorter videos about cleaning other aspects of the hi-fi system, such as polishing the pins on a power cord or replacing the strips on your vacuum machine. But today, for the first time, is our bona fide review, in this case of the Loricraft PRC6i, a string type machine. We here have all three types of machines, basic types of cleaning machines. We have the string machine from Loricraft, VPI suction type machine, and the KL Audio ultrasonic machine. We of course also have various manual approaches such as the spin clean or the disc ductor brushes. But today we're going to focus on reviewing the Loricraft. We're going to tell you what we like about it, what we don't like, and how to get the best out of it. So let's get to it. If you decide to go with the Loricraft, you really only have to make two decisions. One, do you want to go for the 6i or the 4i? The 6i, in addition to being just a little bit different in size, it's a few inches taller. The big difference with the 6i is that it has a larger and much quieter motor. It's one of the fascinating things about the Loricraft. I believe it has the quietest motor of any record cleaning machine available. It is dead silent, really a nice feature, particularly if you intend to use the machine in the same room as your listening room. The 4i has a smaller, but actually more powerful motor. At the end of the day, they both do an identical job of cleaning the record, but you do get a little quieter motor with the 6i. Also, you will get to choose between a walnut veneer or a black ash veneer. Whichever you choose is up to you, of course. They are beautifully applied. Absolutely first-rate craftsmanship in the way this machine is put together. Obviously, we opted for the 6i in the walnut. I like the walnut. I think it looks quite handsome, but the black is a nice one too. One thing you might consider if you choose to pick up a Loricraft machine is the rubber mat or platter that sits upon the platter. This, of course, will never wear out, but if you happen to use your Loricraft in conjunction with other machines or other processes, meaning if you ever want to put a wet record onto the surface, it's nice to have an extra mat so that you don't transfer the water from one side of the record to the other. You can just take it off, let it dry, put the new dry one on. So that's something to keep in mind. As far as the operation of the machine, it's pretty straightforward. We have three on-off knobs. You've got the pump itself, which actually engages the motor and the suction process. There's also a motor that moves the arm across the record. I should note that there's a really wonderful clutch system built into that motor. That is to say, as the arm is moving across the record, if you want to pick it up and put it elsewhere on the record, it won't hurt it at all. It's a magnetic kind of clutch system, and it works beautifully. And then lastly, there's the motor that turns the platter itself. And as you can see, it's bidirectional, which is a really nice feature. We'll show how that works. Let's then look at the most obvious part of this machine, and that's the thread, or as it's sometimes referred to as string. This falls into the category of a string type machine. Keith Monk's, by the way, makes another string type machine. We've never used one, but boy, would we love to try it someday. Until then, let's go through a quick little signal path, if you will. This is a spool of thread which you can acquire from Water Music. If you're here in the United States, they are the distributor. Ollie Falabrico is the gentleman who operates Water Music. He can replace this string for you, though I would have to say this amount of string will clean quite a few records. Basically, after each side, you progress the thread just a few millimeters, so you'll clean quite a few records before you run out of this thread. Once the thread comes off of this spool, it goes into this very fine tube on the underside of the wand, comes out and then up into the nozzle. That nozzle is where the dirty water comes through. It then rides along the string onto the top of the tube, the small tube that's on top of the wand, into this rubber hose and down into the waste jar. That is the signal path, if you will, of the cleaning process. This little ingenious device that kind of looks like a holder, if you will, or a rest for the arm, but it's really not. The arm is perfectly happy stationary on its own. This is an ingenious way to progress the thread. Sure, every time you clean a record, you could just gently grab hold of the spool and twist it a little bit to reveal a clean piece of thread, but this does it for you. It just pushes that thread forward about 4 millimeters, which is just perfect. As far as setting the machine up, it's really very intuitive. It comes with a manual to help you through that process. The waste collection jar, it really is an integral part of the machine. There are 2 hoses. They come with plastic nuts and washers. You have to make sure that those are nice and snug. Don't over tighten them, but they do need to be snug. And then the lid needs to be placed upon the jar properly. If a vacuum is not maintained, you're going to end up with water remaining on the surface of the vinyl after the arm has gone through its pace. So you don't want to crank down with all your might because it's just going to release and pop open. So taut, but not too tight. The record that we're going to use to demonstrate the Loricraft is one I picked up recently from my local record shop. I highly encourage that you patronize your local record dealer. In our case, it's Recycled Records in Reno, Nevada. Very good guys that own that. And they helped me pick up this Cannonball Adderley Quintet in Chicago. It's a pretty good record. It has John Coltrane as a sideman, so that never hurts. But we'll utilize this early stereo pressing to show you how to get the best out of the Loricraft. So before we demonstrate how to clean a record on the Loricraft, let's talk a little bit about the record cleaning fluids and how they best are applied. The machine comes with L'Art du Son, which is one of our favorite record cleaning fluids, but you have a choice as to how to apply it. You can apply it directly to the record, and if you do that, I would recommend using the supplied medicine dropper, basically. You don't want to use more than 2.5, maybe 3 milliliters at most if doing that approach. Some fellas like to apply it via a spray bottle. We have chosen to utilize these particular bottles. There's a link below on where you can acquire them. Whatever spray bottles you use, however, make sure that they're impervious to UV light. Record cleaning fluids like L'Art du Son are organic and can go bad if left out in the sunshine. So in addition to that, we have a larger bottle of L'Art du Son because, as you'll see, we're going to spray the record cleaning fluid on to start and then add more as needed. And of course, we'll want to keep our brush clean. We do that with DI and reverse osmosis water. And of course, we always start with the Giotto blaster. As far as brushes are concerned, you may have seen that we are big fans of the Osage brushes. They work fantastic for agitating the liquid on a suction type machine. But for the Loricraft, I much prefer the brush that comes with the machine. It's not branded, so I'm not sure who manufactures it. But the stiffness of these bristles is just perfect for the way in which this platter moves, which, as you'll see, is quite rapid compared to most suction machines. Our approach ultimately will be to use the spray bottle to wet the record initially, and then add additional record cleaning fluid and later on pure water as needed with the medicine dropper. We always like to start with the Giotto blaster, regardless if you're using Loricraft or any other record cleaning machine. That'll help to remove the large particles. This in lieu of a dry brush. Just hit it a few times. We're going to spray our record cleaning fluid, in this case L'Art du Son, directly onto the vinyl before we place it onto the machine. Be cognizant of the shape of the spray. In our case, it's kind of a on its side figure 8 pattern. You don't want to get too much liquid onto the record label itself. So we'll just kind of get this started. That should be a good start. We'll set it on the machine and get it spinning. I think we did a pretty good job there. No liquid flung out onto the top of the machine. You always want to start with a wet brush. Let's get that, and it cleans it as well. Or certainly helps to keep it clean. As I mentioned, we have this little medicine dropper, so I'll go right into the bottle, the same record cleaning fluid that was in the spray bottle. And this top measurement is 3 milliliters, so We'll bring in about 2, just a little over 2. And I'll show you how I like to utilize that. The technique that I found that works best is to put the brush onto the record and then apply any additional record cleaning fluid right before the brush. That helps to keep things tidy. So you can and should concentrate specifically on the run-out groove as well as the intro, the run-in and intro. That's generally the dirtiest part of the record. Once you've got the intro and the outro, just let the brush do the work. On more traditional suction type machines, you really do need to agitate the record cleaning fluids to a much greater extent than this one. We let the rotation of the platter do most of the work, but do move it back and forth to get that sudsing action going. Okay, we'll go ahead and set that down. And you see we had a few little dribs and drabs pop out. No big deal, just wipe those up. Now, for the operation of the machine itself. Listen to this, fellas. This is whisper quiet. I have never heard such a silent record cleaning machine. Here we go. Barely audible compared to most suction type machines. Next step is to engage the arm. You don't want to set the arm on the edge of the record without the arm motor engaged, because then it might fall off, it doesn't have anywhere to go. I like to set it on there with this arm motor engaged so its inclination is to move towards the center of the record, towards the label. So we'll turn that on, and you can actually see it starting to move very slowly. But as I mentioned, it's got a great clutch system. Just pick it up. Oh, by the way, we have already utilized the mechanism here to advance the string, but I'll show you again how that works. You just set it in there, pop it in, and you've got a new clean piece of string. Set it right on the edge and let it do its thing. Once this wand reaches the edge of the label, we'll stop the process. We'll then stop the motor rotation, reverse it, and let it finish out on the back side so that we clean it going forward and backwards. Let it go right into the run-out groove, right up to the edge of the label. And once it gets there, just turn off the arms motor and it'll stay put. Right like that. Now we'll pick up the wand, stop the motor, reverse it, re-engage the arm motor, and set it on the far side of the record, right at the label's edge, heading out towards the edge of the record. Once the wand reaches the record's edge, stop the wand's motor, put it back in its null position. You can now turn off the pump and the motor itself. This is already looking really good. The next step is to repeat that process with pure water, identical to what you just saw. I like to advance the string also, so we have a clean bit of string with the water. And then, once you've done that, flip the record over and repeat. One process with record cleaning fluid and another with ultra pure water. So, what do we think of the Loricraft machine? Well, from a fit and finish perspective, there is nothing finer. This is so beautifully made, so beautiful to look at. If this is going to be displayed somewhere where the look of the machine is important to you, I don't think you can do better than the Loricraft. Also, if you're going to listen to records while cleaning the machine, if this is located in your listening environment, the Loricraft motor, particularly on the 6i, is as quiet as it can get. Regarding the effectiveness of the cleaning process, you can see for yourself of what was in the groove before and after the process. It did a fantastic job, bottom line. Would I give up my VPI suction machine just to have the Loricraft? The answer is no. I think the VPI is a great workhorse of a machine that's particularly effective on the dirtiest, the grungiest of records. If you're going to stick with the Loricraft, but you occasionally get those very dirty records, you might consider something like a spin clean, where a pre-soak can do a lot to remove the deep, grungy stuff before you get it onto the Loricraft. Alternatively, there's the Disc Doctor. Best brushes on the market for a manual cleaning process. They work great if you have a very dirty record. So something to consider if you want to have just one proper machine. But if your buying habits are such that you tend to buy new records, that sealed new records that may have come from a less than pristine factory, or if you search out records from your local record store that aren't particularly dirty but are certainly in need of a good cleaning, the Loricraft does a great job. Because we get into some extremely dirty records here, I like using both. And of course, there is a place for ultrasonic machines. We have the KL Audio, and I think that has its pros and cons as well. But bottom line, the Loricraft, the PRC6i, highly recommended. If you're considering state-of-the-art record cleaning machines, this one should be on your short list. Until then, we'll see you at the next record. By the way, if you didn't know this, Loricraft is now owned by SME, maker of great turntables and tone arms. Instruction manual, we'll look at that later. The Loricraft PRC6i.